All right, most important equipment on the farm this year. Time to don the old galoshes yet again. Moving on to natural roots next for the second cut. It's been just about 8.5 weeks regrowth here. I feel pretty confident that 2/3 of the field is dry enough. We got about a half an inch of rain that wrapped up a couple hours ago. But I'm just curious of this section. There's that swale or slice that I couldn't get first cut on. And I'm just curious how dry the field is. I'd like to knock it down shortly. Well, except for just a tiny bit of wetness in there that I think I can mow through, even if I let some of this sit for an extra day or two. Because right now, the forecast, now that this rain has moved through, is currently supposed to be amazing for over a week. I know better than to trust it that far out, but we've got folks, even like weather people, calling it a haymaking stretch. So that's the best way to jinx it possible. But I'm going to start out by knocking all this down, and then if that forecast holds, I'll start mowing other fields. Let's see what happens. Well, that's all down. It's actually a lot more here than I thought there was. My current guess is maybe 300 to 350 bales off this. I don't know if 350 is being a little overly optimistic. I was able to get into that sliver, that slice of first cut that I wasn't able to mow for the most part. It got a little bit muddy, so I still had to make a slight crescent shape there, but I bet there's another 30 extra bales there that, that wouldn't have been gotten otherwise. But it's, it's thick in some spots, thin in some spots, but overall some pretty decent looking swaths for 8 weeks of regrowth. So we'll see. I'm gonna wait a little bit, move some stuff, pop home for a bit, come back and TED this out later. They're talking about 25-30 mile an hour winds all night tonight, so I definitely want to get this spread out. The ground's nice and dry except for that tiny little bit of wet stuff. It's well drained soil, so I don't really have anything to gain for leaving it in swaths. Ooh, nice breeze now too. I don't know. I'm ready for an amazing stretch here. Let's see if it happens. Well, at 10:30 the next morning, the wind blew all night. I'm glad I got this tedded out yesterday because this is the soonest I could get out here. But holy dry down. I think some of this might be ready tomorrow. I'm going to TED this. I still think twice today, but plan is to rake it late afternoon. And yeah, maybe that means I should go mow something else this afternoon. Get that teed up. Oh my God, look at this. This is crazy. I mean, some might actually even be ready today. That'd be ridiculous. Anyway, gonna fluff it up lightly, treat this stuff gently. There's clover in it. Not overwork it if I can help it. But, oh my God, look at this. I don't think I've ever seen second cut be this crispy. I mowed it at 1 o'clock. Didn't finish till 3. A little before 3. Took about an hour and a half to knock this down. That's remarkable. What a stretch. This is the nicest day imaginable. Full sun, mid-70s, no humidity, nice breeze bordering on wind. Apparently we're supposed to have a bunch of these. I don't know. Feels too good to be true. Alrighty, it's almost 3 o'clock, and I'm going to knock this field down too. The one we're working on at Natural Roots is, as the crow flies, well less than a mile that direction. So, and I just tedded it again, and that's going to be ready to rake in a little bit. So this has been regrowing, say, for just about 8 weeks, I think. I mowed this on the 4th of July, so a little less than 2 months by the calendar, but I think that's about 8 weeks. Little bit of horse nettle growing up in a few spots that I'll bale separately. And it's funny, you can just see the fertilizer line here, or at least I can with my eyeballs. I don't know if it translates to video, but you know, I did not throw it all the way up to the edge here, and it's just a total stark difference between a nice blue-green and a more pale green. So this, what did get nice fertility, actually just urea, but this field has really good phosphorus and potassium from years of cows pasturing here, and Doug actually would fertilize this too to, you know, boost the pasture grass. So it's got really good fertility, nice finer grasses, and some pretty good regrowth. The question is whether any of the spots that were too wet to get on for first cut have dried out enough to try to mow through. This is the one where I had to go around that standing water in the middle and mow up around those rocks. So we'll see. But a lot of nice growth here, and with only 8 weeks of regrowth, should be a lot more green and less of that dead understory than the really long growing second cut. So we'll see, but I'll knock it down and leave this tractor here, run the show here with it 165, and keep the 275 over at the other field and rake and bale there. Well, that's knocked down. I don't think I have time to come back and ted this out tonight. So with the forecast and knowing I'm not in a rush, guess I'll see what dry down happens with it staying in swaths all night. Not as good as getting it tedded out, because I know the underside is the stuff that's wetter, and but at least the top will wilt down, and maybe I'll get away with just 2 teddings tomorrow and then rake it. I'm not quite sure. Well, it's a little after 11. I actually just went and tedded out the other field that I mowed. It's definitely taking longer and longer for the dew to get off, although not nearly as much wind last night. Although wind is not the norm at nighttime. It's kind of a bonus getting that the first day on this. So really waiting for it to dry out nicely before flopping the windrows over, which it has. Feels nice and crispy on top. Underside, a little damp, reabsorb just a little bit of green, but getting these fluffed up and sitting for a couple hours, it'll be ready to bale. For that reason, I'm not going to double up the windrows. I know that drives a lot of people crazy. It's kind of, I don't know about rare to double up windrows. Second cut, it definitely does happen, but especially on flat fields where topography is not a problem, I'd rather keep the rows single and kick up the forward speed on the tractor. Because doubling up rows right now, you run the risk of burying more of that dew and wetness, and anything you might gain, I feel like, on having half the windrows to bale, you've got to go slower and probably start a little bit later. So I don't know. I like baling. This will be a breeze to do it in the low range 4th gear. It'll only take a couple hours to get this baled up anyway. So that's my reasoning for anybody wondering. with less growth for first cut. Best I can figure is that the well-drained soil helped the grass this year with how much water we got. Pretty nice though. Well, that is just satisfying. Man, there's something about a nice re-rake on a beautiful day before baling that might be the most satisfying step for me. Even more so than putting in windrows the first time. When it's light and fluffy like this, the roller bar rake does a really nice job of fluffing it up. A little wondering if they're on any of this right half. It was especially green, some really lush green growth, as well as that middle area that I was not able to mow for first cut that I did go through on this. That I'm wondering if there's going to be some damp pockets in there. So I'm hoping I won't have to rake anything again, but I'm also prepared to leave a little bit to play around with tomorrow if I have to. But I think, gosh, given this 0 cloud day with a breeze and mid 70s, I think if I let this stuff cook for another hour or so, go ted the other field, come back, it'll be ready. Always trying to keep an eye on stuff. And I think replacing this rake U-joint next year might be on the to-do list. That needs some grease, but it's definitely getting floppy. And I'm curious to what extent the rake would actually run without the axle. But I don't want to find out. All right, this field has made some progress, especially the areas in the sun. It's about 12:30. I would have waited longer to ted this on an ideal day, but I've got to go focus on baling the other field. So at least get this flipped up and aerated. But it's the dry down starting. Whether it'll be ready to bale tomorrow is a question. Probably should have mowed this a little earlier in the day yesterday, but didn't want to back myself into a corner either. It's drying though. Okay, we are all hooked up, ready to go. The hay feels beautiful. I've guessed at the tension. Check it after a few bales. I have one roll of string that changed over recently. The other one is almost there. So we'll see if we get a broken bale within the first 20. But all the days for it. It's a beautiful one. Did I call it or did I call it? I always thought my square knots were pretty good, but I feel like I'm having about a 50% success rate of, well, I guess not per roll, but per pair of rolls. So I don't know. I was going to actually stop and check tension right now. Anyway, so fine. Yeah, there's this one that came undone. Oh, is this one tied? That one looks tied. So maybe, with any luck, we're actually fine after it. And we just had a couple broken bales in a row. Yep, that certainly looks like where I tied it. Okay. 101 on the first load. There they go with the first wagon. I keep cranking these bales tighter every time I stop, and they're still light. So I guess it's pretty good. 191. I don't know, we'll see what's here. That's almost 200 so far, so we'll be over 3. I don't know if we'll hit 4. Well, it's 5 o'clock. Got 383 bales off natural roots. 4 wagons almost exactly. Actually, no, 4 wagons exactly. They were all pretty packed full. Came back here. This stuff is looking ready to rake. You know, it's a little al dente, but I'd rather get it in windrows than let it just sit like this all night. Get a jump on tomorrow, see if I can get it baled, and then see if I can mow something else tomorrow. What the heck? Oh man, this is crazy. Crazy nice. Honestly really satisfying. It's not square at all. It's what I call a Mario Kart field. Doing a full lap. You expect the music to start playing and increase speed. I guess it only happens in the whole thing, right? That's pretty nice. Still pretty green. I think it's ready tomorrow. But definitely nice to get it off the ground this week. Okay, that is raked. Got some nice crisp going on. I am going to don the old galoshes and go see if either of the remaining fields of first cut have dried out enough to get on. If so, I might knock one of those down tomorrow. Hooray. Oh goodness, you hear that sound? It is the absence of squelchy feet. That is a good sign. Little bit of a wet spot closer to their garden there, but that's fine. I mean, if I get down in there, well, not even actually, I can get on this, even if I can't quite get the whole thing. Okay, looks like Mary and Chris knocked down second cut down there. A good friend of mine was saying he was out today and noticed every single hayfield had hay down. Everybody around here is just going absolutely crazy right now, and it's amazing. Ooh, this feels good. I might come mow this tomorrow, I think. That will be a huge relief. Look at all of this second growth. And little bits of orchard grass. I'm sure there's lots lodged under there, but a lot finer grasses too. Yeah, it's funny. It's like the orchard grass is the most robust stuff. Here's some Timothy. You know, there's going to be brown in this for sure. But lots of nice lech second growth. And Natural Roots wants it to round out their order since we lost 5 acres to flooding over there. Wow, well that is a heavy dew. It's about 8:45. I just ran to the co-op and got more baling twine to thoroughly jinx myself and every other farmer out there right now trying to make hay. Yeah, but I'm not going to touch this for quite a while. My plan is to go fetch the other tractor, grab the mower, go mow that field, the first cut that's about a mile or so that away, maybe a mile and a half. Still have hopes of trying to bale some of this today, but boy, did that green up again overnight. It's saturated right now. So let it sit for a few hours, give myself plenty of time to mow and see what I'm facing after that. If it waits till tomorrow, then so be it. Oh boy, super overripe first cut to Vermeer 0. Second time I've had to stop and unclog this thing. This time it's jammed worse than the first time. Almost stalled the tractor out, which means the slip clutch I don't think is quite doing what it's supposed to. Well, alrighty, that's all mowed. I had to do this corner going uphill, so it's a lot of mowing up and swinging around because it was getting clogged going the other direction. There's a lot there. I might skip fertilizer in this corner next year. It's thick and it's well fed for the subject. So a little bit of a rough mowing, but a lot of material here. I don't know if there'll be 250. I don't think I've ever gotten 300 bales here before, but with the amount of material and how long this has been growing, maybe. Against my maybe better judgment, I'm going to pop just diagonally across the road and mow another acre piece that's been regrowing for about 8 weeks. It's right there. May as well. Okay, I think we're good to go to at least try this. I think it's good. You know, there's just that nagging wonder, but I'm not going to be impatient. If this is not perfect, I'm giving it another day. Okay, 155 from this field, which is 3 or 3.5 acres. It's hard to tell because the Google Maps image is from before I started haying it, so I have to kind of estimate where my field edges are. So that puts us around 50 bales an acre at 8 weeks of regrowth, which seems, I mean, 40 to 50 is the norm here for second cut. So settling into a normal, more normal, but high-end normal, and we'll just see how that does as we progress through the field. They fixed the road. The road up to Cricket Hill has actually, finally, been fixed. Just in time to haul a wagon up. Oh, that's nice. I zoned out for the first bit of it, and then I was like, wait, there's nothing to slalom around. There's no cones. Oh, that's nice. Grass up here is growing back nicely. This current hay in this wagon, 75 bales to the good friends that live up here and have sheep, and they're gonna graze this lower field because trying to do second cut there is a pain with all the shade. Go through a lot of work for 20 bales and hardly get to dry it all. So anyway, I'm gonna stop filming because I'm pulling a wagon. Just take a moment to look at this hay though, huh? While the tractor warms up and runs for a little bit. I am pretty happy with that. You know, still little bits of dead leaf, but with 8-week regrowing second cut, that's to be expected. But man, there's a little bit of variation in the field between grass types, but pretty happy with that. Now just formulating my next plans. Here's this 5-acre field where I did the 2 diagonal corners on first cut because that's all that was dry enough. And this is dry enough. So second cut has actually grown back pretty nicely on what I did. And what I wasn't able to get on is dry. So yeah, I think this is next. Yeah, look at this where second cut's been regrowing. Got to check the calendar. It's between 6 and 7 weeks. It is beautiful. Knee high or better. Good clover in it. Mary and Chris were the previous stewards of this field, and they did a nice job keeping up with it. Yeah, I was worried I was going to find not enough here to mow, but definitely is. Okay, well that's knocked down. This field's 5 acres in total, so I probably did 2.5 to 3. It's a little hard to tell exactly where half is. So these are the ones where the field where I did the 2 diagonal corners of first cut, and the far end of that and the lower end of this were too wet to get on. Now everything's dried out, so I'm still just gonna mow it in halves and then bale it separately, you know, between the really late first and the second. But I wasn't even able to get fertilizer on this. Maybe I already said that. And the regrowth here is pretty prolific, so I never want to get in the habit of not fertilizing for second cut. But skipping it in a year, it's not the end of the world. I did fertilize for first cut, so it definitely had plenty of fertility. Gosh, this weather is just insane. The view is great. The field that I do above the cemetery is just that way. You can't really see that field from here, but you can see here from there. And then the other ones I'm working are that way. I've never tried skipping the tedder before, but this yield was so light and I was going by with the rake. I mean, I mowed it and let it sit all day yesterday. I'm not sure that no tedder is well suited for New England, but I know some people do it. I don't know. I just really like nice and uniformly dried hay. And this is like fully cured stuff mixed with fresh green. But I don't know. We'll see. I think I might be ready to tee myself up for the finale of this stretch. It's Sunday. It's supposed to be good solidly through Wednesday. Thursday is a little bit iffy. Plan to just use that as my backup day if something goes sideways. But the late first cut that I just raked is definitely ready to go tomorrow. It might even be ready today, but tomorrow's the plan. The half of this big field that I mowed is drying like crazy, even the second cut. So that'll be, see, tomorrow's Monday, so that'll be Tuesday. And then to try to get Wednesday, rather than run myself crazy tomorrow trying to mow stuff and bale and get things teed up, I'm just gonna knock the rest of this down now and take my time with it. Ted it once tomorrow, you know? And then this used to be part of the hay field. There's a ditch running between the two. It hasn't been hayed for a couple years, but I talked to the person that owns it and she'd love to have me hay it. I got really thoroughly brush hogged about 2 months ago. So see if there's a little bit of dead stuff in it, but this regrew a lot too. May as well do it while I'm here. Crazy. Well, the 275 is a very, very slow, drippy leak of diesel from the injector pump. I'm kind of checking all the different fittings and tightening them and wiping it away and trying to trace it. It's very little, and it's really just, you know, getting over the oil filter and stuff. Probably going to be an after-season fix, because if the tractor's working and it's not leaking crazily, I'm not about to start breaking something or tearing it apart, but it's something to keep an eye on. Hard to beat this. 1/4 and this stuff's ready to go. So we're gonna start putting it together, and Natural Roots is gonna come take it, use my truck to bring it to their farm, and the horses to bring it across the river. That way I can just keep bailing. Well, I wound up seeing too many high moisture blips. The bales feel mostly fine, but I'm not about to give Natural Roots 250 of these and have about moldy pockets, not with weather like this. So debated going to get the other tractor, but I set my dad up to Ted at the other field soon. So I'm just getting the rake and flopping these over again. David already came and got the first wagon with, I think, 87. This is 95. I think I've got at least another half to 3/4 wagon to go. Well, 31 here. That's 31 an acre with no fertilizer. It's lighter than everything else, but boy, is that beautiful, leafy, just about nuclear green stuff. Pretty happy with that. Well, 55 on here from, I don't know, acre and a half, 2 acres. Really beautiful stuff. Although I kept seeing the moisture meter spike in little spots, which drives me crazy. Because before, when I would do this by feel, I mean, I wouldn't even question this. This would be pure, great, ready to go. But I saw it jumping up too high. So I hopped on the rake and flopped the windrows over, and that made a difference until I got towards the middle rows. And then it started jumping up again. I was seeing some 17, 18, saw a couple 20s, and then it would settle right back down into a nice pocket of 12, 13. So I don't know what's causing that, but I doubled these windrows up because I should be able to without problem. I don't know if it's the humidity right now, but that's frustrating. I'm gonna, as a perfectionist, sort through these. I really don't want to. I want to just call them all beautiful. Weird. All right, so 137 late first cut off that end, 55 second cut from here. Got way more to do tomorrow, a lot more of the late first, a little bit of second there, and that other second field, but gets a good chunk off of this, and with any luck, we'll have tomorrow and maybe even Thursday as a backup if something goes sideways. Alrighty, it's the next morning, and I'm a little bit relieved about what I'm found on this experiment, because this drip seemed like it had been getting worse off the injector pump. And again, I can't tell where it's coming from. There's kind of wet diesel spots on a bunch of different fittings. I've tightened things. I don't want to over tighten them, but I left this part of a Gatorade bottle as a funnel setup, and I was worried I was going to find a lot of fuel, but there's not much. It's yeah, you can see it's just barely in the bottom. So I'm curious whether this leak stops to a point after the tractor's not running. It makes sense. It's after the fuel pump on the other side. So I don't know why. It's not like it's gravity fed. It should not just be going from the fuel tank. That makes me feel better. If the drip only really happens after it's running and then for a little while afterwards, like if the lines are pressurized, I can deal with that. It's letting this tractor sit for days between hay stretches and not, you know, having it drip the whole time. That's what I was worried about. So that's a relief. Well, I haven't taken any video yet, but I got one wagon of 80 something till it started to feel a little, this little field just has undulations in it where it'd be too easy to tip a wagon where the rest of it feels flat and then you hit a little side tilt. But I was able to actually sort using the thrower on this and the moisture meter, failing the outside windrows. When I was on the outside windrow, I had the thrower kicked up more. I've stacked that back, but had the thrower kicked up more. And once I started hitting good hay, I backed it way off and made this pile in the front. So that's sure beats having to sort them later on. there's something I've never done before. Broke the 6,000 bale mark. That has been the ceiling. I've not managed to surpass the last 3 seasons and was doing less before that. Wow. Anyway, gotta keep going. Well, my brain is no good on mental math, but we've got 2 full loads plus, no, I guess 2 full loads off the bottom half here. A little bit of it's second cut. The rest is the late first. So I'm gonna haul these 2 wagons up to Crooked Hill. I've got the 135 parked up there, which is not great at backing things in because it's light with no power steering, but it can pull one of these wagons in. And then I'll come back, grab the 275, haul the other one up and back it in. Efficient? Nope. But if I'm short on barn space and very short on energy today, my God, I'm almost dead. It was close to 90, humid. Happy September. It's a lot easier to tarp half a wagon than a full wagon. The folks taking the stuff off of this field are going to come back either for another small load tonight or 2 tomorrow. No threat of rain till later tomorrow. So that's a wrap on these fields. Also, yeah, a wrap on this 8-day stretch. Covered 19 acres and 1,368 bales by the bale counter. A couple broken ones in there, so probably call it 1,360. That might be the best I've ever done in an 8-day go period, both in terms of acreage and number of bales. And for that to happen this time of year, September, what is it, 6th, is crazy. I mean, so much of that is because of finishing up late first cut, but first cut's now done. And next in sight is actually some third cut on that really well-drained field that I did after this one the first time around. And then second cut's continuing to grow elsewhere, and stuff that I didn't fertilize for the second round because I didn't think there was any chance I was going to get back to it, but there's something mowable. I'm pretty ready for these heavy yields to be done with. This just about killed me today. So that feels like a success.